And I think we'll just give it one more minute. Looks like Vic is joining us now, so that's great. If you are able to, and you can turn on your camera, that'd be wonderful. It's just nice to be able to see people's faces and connect in these meetings. If you can't, that's all right. All right, and as people are joining, once again, if you'd please put your name and location in the chat box, that would be helpful. All right. Okay, looks like we have a nice little group and it's right at 10 a.m. So, and I've already started recording. Welcome everybody to our 21st Century Directors meeting this morning on March 2nd. We've got a pretty full agenda this morning and I'm glad you're here. So in an effort to respect everyone's time, I'm going to go ahead and share the agenda and we can get started. All right. Again, if you haven't done so, or if you're just joining, if you go ahead and put your name and site in the chat box, that helps us keep attendance. And we all know that attendance is important at these. Okay, so I think let's go ahead and move right in. The first thing on our agenda is the professional development opportunity that's coming up this summer, the summer symposium. Details here in the link provided. We can go ahead and drop that in the chat as well. And I'm going to go ahead and be quiet a little bit and let Vic talk.
Well, this year is the 25th anniversary of the 21st Century Community Learning Centers program, and they're going to be celebrating in New Orleans. Although it won't be quite as festive as Mardi Gras, it'll still be a good celebration and a chance for all of us to have an in-person meeting. And I would encourage all of you, if you're able, to attend this. So that's a really good use of those PD dollars. And we're going to have a presentation from our OSTCP grant as well. So how many folks have plans to attend this summer symposium? Wonderful. Okay, well, you know, if you haven't made plans yet, I would encourage all of you to take a look at it, because it's a great PD opportunity, and a lot of you have extra money in your budgets because of COVID and things like that. I put a couple of things in the chat, links, and one of them is the Governor's Volunteer Awards, and you can even add a student in there who volunteers and helps in the program. You may have some folks that volunteer. This is a chance for them to get recognition for their efforts on behalf of children. So I would encourage all of you to take a look at that and see, you know, if you can acknowledge some of the hard work people are putting into this program. You know, I see it all the time, but that's the one thing that we often forget about, is recognizing the work that other people do. Another positive thing, I've been meeting with Principal Financial, and they have a program that they will provide an extra 10% to whatever fundraising. And there's I put a link in the chat that you can, for the Principal charity, you can sign up for that and be one of their charities that they support with the Principal Golf Classic. I mean, that's just one of the areas where they support education. So take a look at that. And as long as you're, you know, a nonprofit entity, you are eligible to apply, and you have to also serve children. So, you know, it's a great opportunity. Anyone have any questions? Okay, Heidi, what's I guess you can show them the infographic. There's going to be,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that we're going to change, because I talked with the evaluators and there's a few data points, but you know, it does look good.
Yeah, great. Elva, I'm going to stop sharing and we can go ahead and show the draft form of the infographic here. Thank you very much. And if you're able to make it bigger, I don't know if it'll let you or not.
Much better.
Yay, we got it. Wonderful. All right, so you'll notice that the infographic looks a lot like it has in the past. Of course, all of the numbers have been updated though. And they're looking pretty good. So like Vic said, this is just a draft document. They're still making some checks and making sure that everything we say is correct on here. But as soon as that's done, then this will be available on the website and available to you to use in your conversations as well with stakeholders, school board, partners, whomever you would like to use it with.
Anybody have any questions on the infographic? We'll give you all a copy of the final version, but it also will appear in the state evaluation. Normally, we would provide this to you at the spring conference, but you know, we now are meeting in the fall and I don't want you to have to wait till fall. As soon as we get it done, we'll send you a copy. This is really good as a talking point when you're meeting with community groups or, you know, presenting to the school board.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, and moving on, I'm gonna go ahead and get our agenda back up on the screen. Vic, I think it's time to talk about carryover.
Yes, well, we always like to give you plenty of heads up on carryover, because you have, in May is when I start doing those contracts, and we'll give you a date, but it'll be coming up in May. The absolute deadline that I need to have those carryover numbers, and work with your finance folks, because it's an estimate. Okay. And what that allows me to do is to take your contract and go ahead and put it in the amount of carryover you want, plus your regular award, and combine those together. That's huge time savings in terms of us not having to do a formal amendment. We just do this process. So want to give you a heads up, you should be looking at that. And here's the thing. Let's say that you're, for an example, let's say you get $100,000 and you know, you want to do 15,000 in carryover. Then what happens is you give us that in May, but then June comes around and you're running some summer school and you spend a little bit of that carryover, and you've only got maybe 12,000 left. So that's okay. The carryover is different than your amount for your award. So if you've spent some of that carryover to serve kids, before that amount is going to go into CASA, we're going to check to see how much you have left. So your CASA amount will be that 12,000 rather than the 15,000 that you put in the request. Does that make sense? Okay. I think we've got a pretty good process. It's worked well for a number of years, and keep in mind that 15% is what you can carry over up to. You may not need 15%, but 15% is, it's the same as Title I.
Will you talk about this more in depth at the budgeting meeting next week?
I will if you ask me about it.
Okay,
But
I'm
that's
gonna
a
take
new
it to my
grantee
other
meeting?
board members.
That's for new grantees, and we're going to talk about all the aspects of budgeting, but I can certainly provide a little bit more on the carryover process.
That would be wonderful. I know I'll have a couple people on my team that help with the budgeting attend that meeting. So that would be helpful that they have that info as well.
And Aaron, if you have specific
Wonderful.
questions now, it may benefit everyone in this group too. I don't know if you're thinking that they might have questions, but if you do, it's perfectly fine to ask them here.
I don't have any right now, but I know once I process all the information, I can definitely shoot you a list of questions that I came up with or that things that I'm questioning. And then if it's either covered in the meeting next week or you just respond to me and send it out to everyone, that'd be fine too.
Well, with the pandemic, we were given a very generous ability to do a lot more carryover than 15%. As we get back to normal, I think this 15% is going to be our norm. And actually, with these programs, if you're increasing your students that attend, you may not even need any carryover at all. You may spend all your money. And that's what we really like to see. Although now there's staff shortages, and if you don't have enough staff, it's hard to serve a larger amount of kids, and you may be still needing some carryover. So we're working our way back to normal. And like I said, it's a process. And we'll mention carryover at the next meeting as well. So it's we're not just going to say, oh, in May you've got to get to all this stuff, but all your business office folks, they're familiar with carryover, and they may be able to answer some of your questions on how carryover is determined locally. Oh, documentation. Well, I'm going to need to share my screen on this one, Heidi.
All right, I will stop and you should be good to go.
Wonderful. There it is. Okay, we had a federal monitoring visit in October. So they the feds took about 6 months, because I was sending in the stuff in September, the documentation, and there's some things, we've got somebody that's brand new, and so they're wanting more documentation. And some of these things are going to affect you. And I need your help with some of this documentation. So the first critical element, they're asking, does the SEA require applicants to provide timely notice of intent to apply for the grant? Well, yeah, we have our letter of intent, and there's evidence because you have to have signatures from folks in the school district, but you also have to have at least 5 community partnerships, you have to reach out to your non-publics and have a meeting. Many times there's a school board meeting to decide if you're going to apply for the funds. But what we're going to have to do on this one is update our RFA. And notice it says what they want from us is within 60 days, we must submit a revised RFA and supporting application documents. What we'll put in there is a little section that says, you know, substantiate that you have had a community meeting in, you know, one or more of the following ways. Did you have a board meeting agenda item that talked about applying for the grant? You know, and we'll have it that it's a checklist, you know, that you can check. We're not going to ask you to give us the meeting agendas. Did you have a meeting to develop MOUs? Did you have other community meetings? Did you have your non-public consultation, even though we have the form? Did you mention it in a newsletter, email, or notes sent home to parents or other kind of notice? What I'm asking you now is if you have any of that, like a board meeting agenda or a community advisory group that met to discuss the whether or not you would apply. If you could send me that via email, that would provide me with some evidence. Keep in mind in the federal mindset, they're thinking in terms of having a unique website with public comment to give the public notice. But that's not the only means of providing, you know, community notice and meeting that objective. So, and the fact that we've got, well, we did have around 500, we're down a little bit on our partners. The number of partners we have in Iowa is larger than any other state. And so that's evidence of notices that we're out there in the community notifying folks about this grant. So that's just one of the items. Now, the other ones are even more fun. The next critical element, does the SEA conduct a sub-grantee risk review to inform monitoring strategies? And I've talked to you guys about this a few years ago. But the feds are saying now within 60 days, they want me to submit a sub-grantee risk review tool and a written plan for how the results from this risk review will inform monitoring. Well, we've embedded risk review throughout the grant cycle process. And this was approved by USDOE and was used in their own document to train new state directors. Other states have a tool and they just gave us a training. They want everybody to use some sort of a checklist. So we may end up having to copy some other state's checklist and submit it to meet this criteria. Although I think it's not as effective as what we already do in Iowa. You know, if there's a problem, you guys will reach out to me or I'll reach out to you. And it can happen in a variety of ways. You know, I may see something in a local evaluation and I'll reach out to you. You know, you may email me that there's an issue and, you know, all of these things are risk assessment, but we handle it in more of an informal way than a formal process. And I think that's the crux of the matter with the feds. They want a formal process defined. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Does the SEA conduct regular systematic reviews of subgrantees to monitor for compliance with federal regs and state rules and policies? Well, of course we do. We've got 2 site visit documents that are posted online, embedded in our application. What they're asking here, within 60 days, the ID must submit a written monitoring plan to demonstrate how we'll conduct regular systematic reviews of subgrantees to monitor for compliance. Well, you know, we've already got this stuff. I might have to add the alignment, because the 11-page checklist is aligned with federal statutes. So although we may have to add yet another monitoring plan, I'm hopeful that what we already have can be explained, that we don't have to keep adding paperwork. So let's go take a look at the next element. Does the SCA monitor subgrantees that coordinate federal, state, and local programs? So we don't really have a formal process on this, although we do have language that encourages it. Notice that they're asking for a revised monitoring documentation form to demonstrate that we monitor subgrantees' coordination of federal, state, and local programs. So I'm hoping maybe we can just add this to one of our existing documents as a question. We do monitor, supplement versus supplant, and we review how you use various funds in your program. But, you know, that's not a requirement that you coordinate federal, state, and local funds. But many of you do. You may use, for example, Title I to pay for some summer school. You might pay for a couple weeks with Title I, and then you extend that with 21st Century. So maybe you'll have 6 weeks summer school instead of just 2. But you can see from this, you know, how I try to keep some of that paperwork from hitting you guys, because it is, you know, quite burdensome. They want to know, do we have clearly defined performance indicators and measures that are used? And, you know, we do align with the GEPRA measures. And I don't know what they were looking at, but I don't think they saw the documents we have with the new GEPRAs. I was on the committee that defined the new GEPRAs, but you know, you're missing one document with them. Sometimes they're not real happy. So I'll have to point out to them that you know, our performance measures are aligned to the GEPRA. In fact, the evaluation template provides evidence of that. Then, of course, they weren't happy with our evaluation. And what's funny is when we met with them and the evaluators pointed out that, you know, we have a template we provide, and the new template is has the new GEPRA measures on there, but apparently, you know, after the Christmas holidays, they forgot some of this stuff. So within 60 days, we must submit a written monitoring document that includes evidence that we monitor subgrantees will use the results of evaluation to refine and improve and strengthen the program. Well, you know, with the Impact Conference, we're using the results of the local evaluation to provide awards to you guys. You know, best practice awards. That's using the information. Plus, there's a section in there that they apparently missed about recommendations from your local evaluator on how to improve. So, and the fact that I read through every local evaluation means that I am monitoring you. So, R&R, Ron and Rusty, they're going to send, copies of some emails that they sent to you guys with questions about evaluation. And I got emails from you guys where we may have read something in there that we do a follow-up. For example, like some of your measures, your local measures, we've had conversations about, changing those measures to make them more effective. And that will overall improve your program. And then the last one is really strange here. Well, actually, that's not the last, maybe it is. Does the SEA monitor subgrantees to ensure that 21 APR data is submitted accurately and on time? So, how many of you got an email from me more than once about entering your APR data? And then those of you that we didn't hear back from because we're monitoring the APR, you got a phone call. Tim and I were, we would break up the list and we would make phone calls. So they said that they don't have evidence to show how it occurs that, we're looking at the data, but, I'll have to send them some emails. And they don't have evidence to show that we review and check the accuracy of subgrantee data as well. That is a new one because we rely on you. And as far as the accuracy, if you put in that you had 17 kids attending that improved out of 50, how am I supposed to check the accuracy of that? But I'll figure something out to put in there that, we do check the data, but as far as the accuracy, it almost seems like they're steering us to a data system with that one. So again, they want another form, a revised monitoring documentation form. So they like a lot of paperwork. But a lot of that is going to be worked on by Ron and Rusty. The main thing that I would ask you guys is if you're, for public notice, if you go ahead and send me just, one example. Did you have a board meeting, or an advisory group meeting? Send me some evidence in there that I can include. But I wanted to share with you this, and so it's always fun to have those monitoring visits. But let me assure you that when I come out for a visit, I'm not looking to nitpick. I am looking primarily to see, what you're doing well. Because I use monitoring visits to see what kind of best practices that are really above and beyond. And then I encourage you to share those at Impact. And yeah, we might find something, but I'm not going to make a big case, because as long as we identify something that needs to be fixed, we fix it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point and a good segue into, I think we have an opportunity for people to share. We've got a little bit of time left and only one or two things left on the agenda. So I'd just like to open it up now, if that's all right with you, Vic, to hear some good things that are happening out there in the state.
I always like hearing good things.
Yeah, so please just feel free to unmute yourself and jump in and tell us what you're doing.
Here in Fort Dodge, we are working on still expanding our program. We're still working on getting summer up and going and ready for this summer, which will take place. But we're also reaching out to more of our free and reduced population of students and getting principal recommendations of students that would benefit from our program. That way we can get them in before the end of the year. Kind of get them used to what we do, and that way families know that we're available in the summer for them and that their students would have a safe place to go this summer. So our goal is to increase by about 40 kids before the end of the school year. So it's a big undertaking, but we're working on it, and I think we'll be pretty successful. We sent out letters to the different families last week and the early part of this week, and I've already had probably 6 or 8 responses of families that want to send their students and siblings here. So
That's great. Aaron, I would suggest you go to the Iowa After School Alliance website, the 21cclc.com, and go to the new grantee section, because last year we had a couple of meetings focused on summer, and there's some PowerPoints that might be very useful about with a lot of resources for summer school, even some lesson plans and things that you can use. That might be very helpful for you as you move forward.
thank you. I'll definitely check it out.
Wonderful. Who else would like to share?
Good morning. This is Billy at Oak Ridge Neighborhood Services. For our summer program, we are in the process of hiring our student workers. We are contacting all the high schools in Des Moines with application forms, and we're also setting up orientation and classes for our new hirees who will be working on working with either businesses or within our organization to help with field trips, help in the classroom. We've set up some wonderful norms for students to learn how to interact with other students and also younger students, and also help with giving parent information to the new hirees. And that's one big piece of the puzzle that we're working on, like right now.
Are
Oh,
you
with
gonna
teachers
pay?
too coming in.
Will you be paying the students, or are they volunteering?
Okay, that's a twofold question. Most of the students will be paid.
Okay.
Okay, and our younger students may be volunteering, especially those 13 and 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds. And that's basically what we call a training for the middle schoolers, you know. And now I'm not saying that they'll be guaranteed a job the next year, but it'll give them a foot in the door.
Well, check out that governor's volunteer program, because you can nominate students to get an award, and that would be a great for somebody that's just learning and they're volunteering their time to get a nice award from the governor.
Okay. Volunteer Students Award. Okay. Governor. Thank you, Mr. Vic.
Yep, the link's in the chat.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else want to tell me something good?
It's Dr. Seuss's birthday, Vic. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Yep, it's Dr. Seuss's birthday. So our after-school program created a poster for the elementary school with lots of characters from Dr. Seuss books, and just to help celebrate the day. So we're reading and implementing that school-wide. So after-school program was tied into that.
Wonderful. Yeah, I know that he wrote his book specifically for struggling readers.
Hi, this is Ariel from Boys and Girls Club. This summer we're working to partner with DMAC to get a couple of our kids interested in the nursing field to get a CNA internship we're really excited about. And then the Evelyn K. Davis Center provides a 2-week work training program. I'm having a few kids go into, and then I don't have too many details, but we're working with an organization that can have kids be paid to clean up parks. So we're working on trying to get that started too.
Nice service learning.
That's wonderful. Anybody else interested in sharing? And it doesn't necessarily have to be what's happening in your program either. If you had any good PD opportunities lately, or anything like that, we would also love to have you share.
It's me again. I don't like to monopolize anything, but we have one PD a month that deals with social emotional learning, which, you know, there's a lot of issues with that right now in Castle. And also they deal with like self-awareness, social awareness. We have some of our community partners come out and give us many workshops on the expectations of students and behavior. And we've been very successful with our leadership workshops, with our adventures workshops, with our math and literacy workshops, and just how to be a nice person, if that makes sense to you folks. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Now, you know, sometimes as we have, some of you have been in this for a few years, and, you know, sometimes politics gets in the way of us, you know, doing our job. But at one time it was, you know, every social emotional learning was, you know, very important. Now, you know, it may be restricted, but, you know, if that happens, we can always talk to the kids. We can always refer them to a counselor for, you know, some of their mental health issues, some of their, you know, emotional concerns. Bottom line is we need to spend more time communicating with children and giving them, you know, a positive outlook on life, because for some of them, they're dealing with stress and things that make it difficult for them to succeed with learning. One of those things that hinder learning is having enough food to eat. You know, you'd be surprised how many kids come to school in the morning and they're hungry. And, you know, they get a little bit for lunch, and sometimes they're still hungry because those bodies are growing, developing. So, you know, that's one thing we can do to mitigate that. Surprisingly, you know, a lot of states say that they restrict 21st Century Funds from even purchasing any food. And Iowa, we're one of the few, because number one, the statute says we will offer a snack. Now, how are you going to offer a snack in a statute and not allow people to buy those snacks with the funds? What they try to do is force people to work with their food and nutrition. The problem is with the food and nutrition, you must have 50% free and reduced. And the grant, we've got folks in there with maybe 42, 43%. They can't get the food and nutrition funds from the USDA. So in those cases, we have to let them use 21st century funding. But by not imposing those restrictions, we ensure that, you know, we can provide for kids.
Absolutely. All
And if you
right,
have
well,
questions,
oh,
reach
go
out
ahead.
to me. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to make note that the only thing left on our agenda today was just to remind everyone that the new grantee and staff transition meeting is March 9th, next week. The agenda will include budgeting. If you have any financial staff, like you were talking about, Erin, definitely bring those people to that meeting. It's of course for new grantees, but it's always open for everyone too. So if that's something that you feel like you would like a little refresher on, you're very, very welcome to attend, even if you're not new or you haven't had a staff transition happen. And that's all I've got. I did drop in the chat a link to the Power of Us survey. I don't know if you have, or if you remember me telling you about this for the last couple of months, but here I am again, asking you please to have your staff participate in this Power of Us survey. If we have enough people that take it from Iowa, we will receive a state specific dashboard with information included in it and the ability to use that data to create one-pagers and forums to help us with policy, to help us with sharing with legislators. And it's just a wonderful and first of its kind opportunity for people in the field that we're in to tell our stories and have our voices heard. So please, if you have not had your staff do that yet, it's not a super simple, easy little survey that takes 3 minutes. Like it takes like 10 or 12 minutes to fill it out. So it's a little bit of a lift, and we understand that, but we're coming down to the last few days of it being available. So if you have not done that yet, if you would please. And as your ticket out today, I would like you to please respond to my poll. Has your team taken the Power of Us survey? Yes or not yet? And if you could please do that, I would much appreciate it. If you need the link again, let me know. We'll send it.
Yep. And if
Otherwise-
you're having an issue, please stay on the call and we can spend a little extra time with any of your concerns.
Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording just in case there's anything anyone would like to talk about that they don't want on
the
public
record.
record.